Hello, and welcome to the back room where we talk about politics. We talk about politics in New York City, across the country, and around the world. I'm Lisa Schiffren, a Republican speechwriter.
I'm David Eisenbach, presidential historian.
And tonight we have our first guest, Gonzalo Duran, who's running for mayor of New York City in 2025 on the Conservative Party line.
Gonzalo, I ran for public advocate for the Democratic Party nomination 2017 against Tish James. Why are you running?
Well, the last this past election for 2024, the Conservative Party made a lot of strides, and I'm hoping that for the 2025 we make even more so. We have big tickets that we have to run, and I believe that will put us in a position where in the coming years we make more of a bigger footprint.
What's your big issue as a mayor?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of issues that I can hit on in my platforms, but I think the biggest one is this past city council session where they approved the City of Yes. That's one of the biggest things that I've been trying to fight for my community.
City of Yes is what?
Well, City of Yes it's a broad section for, let's say, one of the most important things with housing, increasing the zoning for all of New York City. So, in a couple years, the people of New York City may not see residential housing anymore, and that's something that we need.
We're talking 1-2 family housing.
Single family homes are probably going to be non-existent.
This was one of my issues. I'm running it from a left perspective, and my frustration was with Bill de Blasio just rubber stamping every developer's dream to rezone our neighborhoods, raise the heights, and then they give a little giveaways for affordable housing, but they're really building luxury housing, and that drives out the middle class from New York City.
Yes, and recently, let's say Congressman Espinal just put out a lottery ticket for families. I think the requirements is $83,000 to $125,000, and it's only about, and I can't remember the exact number, between 6 and 8 houses or apartments that are available.
Right. See, that's the thing. It's a lottery.
Right? We have to do a lottery for our own money that we're paying.
Meanwhile, we wind up displacing a lot of working New Yorkers, and we wonder why our homelessness is so out of control.
And we ruin all the charm of all the neighborhoods that are low-rise and actual neighborhoods where there's a bakery and somebody knows your name and you go in there 3 times a week. It just drives everybody out.
Absolutely. And one of the major complaints I heard on the campaign trail is from parents who would say, older parents would say, my kids can't afford to live in my neighborhood, our neighborhood, where they grew up. And this is something that just the city, whether it was with the Democrats or the Republicans, they're just giving it away. The City of Yes.
Now, one example that I want to make the people to know that's what's going to happen is, let's say a single family home in the suburban part of the Bronx now will have the ability to make an addition in their backyard, their basements, and now what are you going to see? You're going to see multi-families in there. So then what do those children in the future have to gain for? The nuclear family is going to be pretty non-existent anymore.
And this affects the quality of life of homeowners, longtime residents, and it's not a city who's catering for working New Yorkers.
Well, it's also not a city that's catering for families.
Yeah.
This is driving out families.
That's right.
Yes, and if I was in a position of legislative, that would have been one of my biggest things to fight for. As a non-legislative, my work has been to try to put elected officials in my capacity as vice chairman for the Bronx Conservative Party into those positions to fight it. So long-term goals, that's some things that we're trying to do as a party.
And what are your thoughts on the current mayor, who might be your competitor in the
Well,
election?
I mean, every couple of weeks it comes less and less that he will be a real competitor. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but in the end of the day, his indictment, how hard they're going to go with them. There's a possibility of Trump pardoning them.
No.
Oh, but in general, stuff that are going on like that. But I think, with him not being able to get matching funds, that's going to be hard for him to go to another party if he wants to.
You think he won't make matching funds?
Well, they stopped it right now. I mean, I'm sure his litigators are going to try to fight it, but we're talking about, Jumaane Williams didn't run or hasn't made it declared his run because the same people that are funding him are funding Jumaane Williams and other politicians. So this is something that's going to be systematically affecting New York New York City politics.
Well, it's the machine.
It's a machine.
Right?
It's a
Because
machine.
the machine, right, is taking this, and it's hard to digest because you don't know which way it's going to go.
I think there's a greater chance that Adams runs as a Republican than as a Democrat. But along those lines, before he actually flips, this week we heard Trump talk about maybe pardoning Adams. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's a possibility. You know, what's in it for Trump? Not too much. What's in it for Adams is, you know, the possibility of, you know, not going to jail and making favor towards Trump in a positive. What way it could be out of that part?
Well, not going to jail and not having the huge expense of having to fight a federal indictment.
Yeah.
What does it give for Trump? The ability to stick it once again to the Biden administration and the Justice Department to continue his argument that he and Adams were targeted because of their stances, their political stances, that this was lawfare, and that's how it benefits Trump.
Well, I think that's actually a serious point. I mean, there has been significant lawfare and not much rule of law during the Biden administration. And I think Trump will do anything to highlight that. And I think Pam Bondi, the incoming Attorney General, will make a big deal of it too.
And, you know, New York City being a sanctuary city, you know, everything that happens here, in my opinion, goes across the nation. It's the highlight of everything going around. And it will affect the other sanctuary cities as well. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so who do you sort of most fear in terms of your competitors in this
Honestly,
election?
it scares me that if, you know, Adams is removed before the time period, then Jamali Williams gets put in as public advocate, you know, the second in the chain of command, and then he has a bigger leg up to run with a bigger platform in the next year. So that's, you know, having a progressive socialist like him in that office, it scares me.
Yeah, that'd be a disaster. I keep hoping that Andrew Cuomo will get the Democratic nomination because while I don't like him or respect him personally, I feel like he's at least a moderate.
You know, at a certain level, you know, his backing with conservatism legislators, like let's say Ruben Diaz Jr. for the Bronx, would give him a leg up, and he's been, you know, poaching and shopping him around as well. So
I think
is a possibility.
I think he'd have the backing of lots and lots of New Yorkers who are very tired of being a sanctuary city, very tired of all of the progressive legislation that's caused the spikes in crime. Tired of watching Alvin Bragg conduct this lawfare against Trump as the mainstay of his job. I think Cuomo is a moderate, and on policy, he you know, he's got a record, and it's he killed a lot of seniors with his idiotic COVID policies, but and that's unforgivable, and he hasn't ever admitted it. On the other hand,
but you remember during COVID, right? He was the guy everybody went to every day to find out what was going on. He was
that was kind of a narrative.
Presence.
That was he had a good narrative.
That's not what I observed. I observed my wife, my mother-in-law, sort of loving Andrew. All right,
These left-wing
everybody
women.
was talking
No,
about
these left-wing women. They loved Andrew.
Right? They
Right.
loved him. The women of New York loved him, and Andrew Cuomo has that charisma. He's got the Cuomo name. He's going to have plenty of money behind him. He is going to be formidable when he runs for mayor, and he is running for mayor.
I'd certainly rather see him than Jumaane Williams, who is a crazy progressive socialist.
But you know,
I ran
in the end
against
of the day, that
Jumaane.
stain,
I like him very, very much personally.
that stain with the senior citizens is going to hurt him. And you know, me personally, I would not back him in that situation. But I can see why the other progressives, or assuming the more conservative-leaning individuals for the parties would.
Well, I feel like on principle, maybe I wouldn't back him, but as a New Yorker who has to live with what the mayor decides, I would back him.
He's going to offer the sense of, I know, you know, how the system works. You know, I've been in the trenches. I know where the bodies are buried. If you need somebody to come in and fix things, you know, sometimes it takes a thief to catch a thief, that kind of thing. And I think he's going to pitch himself as having been humbled by his experiences and a new Andrew. Whether you buy it or not, who knows? But Andrew's going to be a formidable candidate.
Let's switch to a new topic. The most exciting thing that's happened this week
Yes.
are drones.
Yes.
Drones all over our country, all over the world.
All over the world. We had them in the UK. They were flying around U.S. military bases. And then they started flying around our military bases, right? Patterson, Langley, Stewart International Airport got shut down. These are serious. And it's being reported by pilots, by police.
You know, I just want to say the government hasn't done a very good job explaining what's going on. They have very clearly covered up. Why don't we hear from Donald Trump what he has to say about it?
Yes.
Because he came out and had a real statement.
Very interesting statement.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are looking.
Something strange is going on. That is a man who knows something. Of course, he was president of the United States, and knows that the military knows, as well as the Biden administration. And he can't say it, but he kind of said it.
Oh, come on,
there.
David. Tell us what strange thing you think
Well,
it is.
one of the key things he said was a garage. They know where they're landing. It's a garage, he says.
You know
Now,
that they're coming out of.
right, in and out. When he says garage, when Donald Trump says, he's not talking about like a suburban 2-car garage. He's talking like a Manhattan-style garage where you have this tiny entrance where it goes down deep and you have vast numbers of cars inside. He knows that there is a UFO garage somewhere. That's what I think he's saying there, that they're flying out of.
A UFO garage.
UFO garage. The simplest explanation for this.
No
We're
wonder.
talking a
No
worldwide
wonder.
phenomenon. Is why we're having congressional hearings about UFOs. We have these whistleblowers. They're talking about how we have a recovery program. We have alien bodies. This is something which I can't believe it's coming out, but it seems to be coming out. And now it's up in the skies all across the United States, not just in New Jersey.
Right.
And our government...
I like the idea where there's a dirty nuke somewhere that they have to find before some terrorist explodes it. Better than aliens running rampant all over our country.
Well, the good thing is, if the aliens wanted to take us over, they would have done it already.
Whereas the terrorists keep
Terrorists,
trying.
no, they don't trust a single one of them, and that freaks me out. But yeah, I'm weirdly reassured by the idea that they are aliens revisiting us again.
You know, with my military background,
Yeah.
working in intelligence units, you know, I know the government does have to keep some anonymity of things that are going on, but I think it's shocking and embarrassing that our government officials have gone to so blatant, you know, this, to put us in this type of situation, distraughtness. You know, like the New Jersey senator saying, "What's going on?" Well, we don't know. You know, they know what's going on, and you know, from the White House being so blatantly disregarding our questions. You know, once again, this is the problem that we have with transparency in government.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that I'm trying to fight against. You know, at a certain level, things have to be kept at a secret or top secret level. Yeah, we understand that, but you know, with so many people citing them.
Well, they've been keeping aliens at the top secret level for 50 years, 60, 70 years.
Yes.
And I think that day is ending.
Well, I mean, in that situation, if, you know, I'm not saying there is or there isn't aliens, but that would be put at a higher than top secret level. So.
Yeah, except it's the biggest news story in our lifetimes.
Because these drones are everywhere and they're hard to hide. I don't know. I think at this point it would be comforting if it was merely China.
That's true. It's true, but I don't think China has the capacity to send these drones that are able to violate airspace all around the world. Like I said, these U.S. military bases in Europe are also being affected by these drones, and so I don't think it's the Chinese. I think that this is otherworldly.
We've got to go to a public service announcement. Keep your dials on this channel. See you in a minute. Welcome back to the back room. This week in our discussion of politics, we're going abroad to Syria, where there's been a change in government. One of the world's most vicious monsters, Bashar al-Assad, has been toppled. And somebody named Jamal, who was formerly al-Qaeda, but has rebranded and is now trying to be a statesman for the next minute and a half, is heading the country. So President Biden is working with President Erdogan of Turkey to run this show, and President-elect Trump has actually come out and said, "This is not our business. We have no dog in this fight. Let the Syrians fight it out, and then we'll deal with it." What do you think? Who's right?
Yeah, well, HTS, this new governmental group, used to be al-Nusra Front, and that used to be al-Qaeda. They are listed by the United States as a terrorist organization. So the idea of us getting behind a terrorist organization that has taken over Syria turns my stomach. Secondly, what is going to happen to the Kurds? You know,
well, the Kurds and the Druze and the Christians.
Well, that's right, and we're talking ancient Jewish and Christian communities in.
No, there are 3 Jews left in Syria.
That's not true. That's not true. There are ancient Christian and Jewish communities there, and of course Shia and Druze, and then the Kurds in the north that now. Erdogan and the Turks are going to be able to run roughshod over. Once again, they're going to be screwed, in part because we're a terrible partner when it comes to the Kurds. We always...
No, everybody's a bad partner for the Kurds.
Well,
the
that's
Kurds
right.
deserve their own homeland. There are 40 million
Absolutely.
of them, and they are a peaceful people.
They are a peaceful people, they are practical people, and they always get screwed over. And it looks like they're going to get screwed over again, in part by the U.S. government. And so, you know, the idea that we are going to get involved here, I think it sounds horrible to me.
You know, running as for the last election from a congressional race, you know, at the national level, for topics like this, I agree with President-elect Trump. Where is our fight in this situation? As New Yorkers, as a country, we have a humanitarian obligation to help out our allies and our friends in other worlds, but at what due process for our tax money? When we're trying to put food on the table, how much do we invest into the other situation? I think individually, most Bronxites have love that we don't want to see the death tolls increase, but at a certain point, we have to say, we'll say something, we'll do something, but our money's, we're tight on that part.
And when was the last time our military interventions in the Middle East actually saved lives?
Yes.
We tend to cost a lot of lives, not to mention money, right? And always, Republicans and Democrats too have plenty of money to spend on military stuff, but not on actually addressing the problems at home.
No, we've screwed up every single country we've been involved with certainly in this century, starting with Iraq and of course Afghanistan, 20 years and trillions of dollars, and we never had good intelligence and we never knew what we were doing, and we failed, and the Taliban is in control. The problem is Syria is a little more centrally located, and it can be more disruptive in its neighborhood.
Well, what's interesting is how the Israelis have expanded their control over the Golan Heights.
It is interesting. The Israelis have taken over all of Mount Hermon because it's a peak vantage point. The Druze have come out and asked the Israelis to govern them,
Yes.
which is actually a stunning rebuke to people who think there's been a genocide. You don't ask people who commit genocide to take your control of your politics.
The alternative for the Druze is a genocide.
Yes, it is.
If they stick around with HTS, given their history. So I think the Druze are making a smart move. There are
I don't think the
quite a
Israelis
few-
will take over. They'd be crazy to take over.
I think they'd be crazy not to expand control over further into the Golan Heights. I don't trust this new government one bit.
It's a real
if
pity.
you've been on the Golden Heights, I think you probably have, right?
Yes.
And you can see, Syrian cities, right? And when I was there, Al Qaeda was in one of those cities, and there were explosions, and it was insane. It's just right there.
No, for 1 minute-
Israel not to make sure that Al Qaeda doesn't come storming in from the Golan Heights. I can't blame them for expanding their control.
I totally agree. I feel sorry for the Syrian people because they deserve peace and they deserve a break.
Absolutely. And I don't think they're going to get any peace anytime soon. I have no confidence in Erdogan or this new
No,
government.
Erdogan is just as bad as the Iranians in his own way. The Iranians cost them the last 15 years, 20 years. Erdogan clearly likes radical Islam and likes militarizing things.
And he's kind of expanding a neo-Ottoman empire in the Middle East. There was a moment when Turkey could have joined Europe, but I don't think that's happening anymore.
And I like your hard stance, Lisa, because I went to Iraq, we lost
As a Marine.
As a Marine,
served.
yeah, I served. I went to Iraq as a Marine, and when we left, we lost any progress that we made there. Within less than a year, everything was gone.
Right.
Everything we did. So that's not something that I want to happen again. Not now, not ever again. So.
No, it's tragic.
When you were there, did you have hope that we could have done some good?
Working with the Iraqi government at the time, I thought we were making, some of the things that we were trying to do was to train the police officers over there to take over, and, it lost everything, everything.
All right.
So on a different topic, an interesting fact that came out this week that if you're a conservative, you've been called a conspiracy theorist for thinking this, is that the FBI had 26 informants at January 6th, 2020, out there in the demonstration. What do we make of this?
Well, it's nothing new. Throughout history, as a historian, we saw how they infiltrated civil rights organizations during the 1960s, anti-war organizations during the 1960s. So the idea of the
Well, it's not a shock.
FBI.
It's not a shock that the FBI would do this. What was a shock is that the Biden administration would use January 6th so explicitly to discredit Republicans and Donald Trump in particular, and be so egregious about it when in fact they set the thing up.
Well, this is a tactic that the FBI has been using for decades.
I don't
This
blame
is
the
not
FBI for this. I blame the people who.
Oh,
no.
You don't blame the FBI.
I
See,
would blame
that's typical conservatives.
No, I
the
blame the-
FBI has a long history of violating civil liberties.
Hang
but
on.
the only time they get excited is when their civil liberties get violated.
I would blame Nancy Pelosi or whoever else it was who set this up, who used the FBI to do it. I blame the FBI, and I'm happy that Kash Patel is going to come in and totally revamp it. but somebody set this up on purpose to look bad, and that was Nancy Pelosi.
Well, don't let the FBI off the hook, believe me.
You know what? We've got a new thing we're going to do from now on, and that is we're each going to offer our predictions for the weeks ahead or the year ahead. Let's start with you, David. What's your prediction?
Andrew Cuomo announces for governor and for mayor, and he goes right to the top of the list
When does he do that?
after Christmas, after New Year's.
After New Year's.
Well,
Gonzalez.
I hope your prediction doesn't come true. But for my prediction, I think this is the year we find out if aliens are real or not. I think that's going to come out.
Yes.
That
I
is a
love it.
big prediction, and I hope you're right. I think Trump is clearly on board with this. We'll also find out if JFK was killed by the CIA.
Trump promised UFOs and JFK, and I think Epstein too. So we'll find out if Trump is going to keep his campaign promises.
My prediction is a boring one. I think the DOGE committee, headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, is getting a lot of support, including from Democrats. And even though it's not possible to cut $2 trillion, it is possible to cut lots of money and lots of regulations, and it's going to be successful.
We have to cut the money. This is weakening the dollar. These budgets are out of control, and whether you're Democrat or Republican, that's good government.
Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you in 2 weeks.